Let's learn. Awesome. Thank you. So just to go over a couple of housekeeping rules before we get going. This webinar is going to be recorded and posted on the SSCCC YouTube channel afterwards for everybody looking to just refresh their memory on things they heard in here, information they learned, and also for those who weren't able to attend. Live transcript will be enabled at request, and it already has been. So if you all don't see that yet, just pop it in the chat and we'll be sure to fix it. Questions will be entertained at the end of the webinar. We have a whole segment dedicated to questions. So please hold your questions until the end of the webinar. And also best view is via the presenter view by clicking on the icon in the right-hand corner and selecting presenter view. But with that, let's get started. So what are resolution sponsorships? This is kind of like an untalked about part of the resolutions process, which is actually one of the most crucial parts of the resolution process. So sponsorships are statements of support for resolutions. In order for you to have your voice heard and be legitimate, you need to be supported by people. And this is manifested with the SSCCC's resolutions process through sponsorships. So prior to submission, authors are required to secure sponsorship for all resolutions. The resolutions procedure packet does not specify a specific number, so it is one. As long as you have one sponsorship for your resolution, then you are able to submit it to the resolutions committee and then heard at GA. But statements of support is what you should take away from this slide. So who can sponsor resolutions? Only 4 bodies can sponsor SSCCC resolutions. Those are student body associations within our California Community College system, SSCCC caucuses, SSCCC regions, regional delegate assemblies, and the SSCCC board of directors. So these are all deliberative bodies who are composed of many people who vote, who represent a certain interest, right? So like a student body association at a certain community college represents the students of that community college, right? And it's the same thing for caucuses. They're people who represent a specific idea and feel strongly around a specific idea or interest or issue. Regions, they are composed of people from throughout a specific SSCCC region who represent the various colleges within those regions, and the board of directors is the statewide governing body of the SSCCC. So these are people who can sponsor resolutions, and we'll get into how they sponsor resolutions next. So rules of sponsorship. This is super important, so pay attention. SBA's caucuses, regions, and the board of directors may by a majority vote sponsor resolutions at regular or special meetings. And just to specify, this vote, it doesn't have to be a 2/3 majority vote. It can be a simple majority vote, 50% or more, right? So that's all that needs to go to it. No 2/3 supermajority or a plurality. Has to be a simple majority. Each body can sponsor up to 5 resolutions per General Assembly. You can't do more than this. That's the rules specified in the resolutions packet, and it's super important rule to remember. Also, a resolution is considered the property of the author, but becomes the property of the sponsor once voting begins. So once certain bodies approve votes of sponsorship towards certain resolutions, they become inextricably attached to those once GA starts and once the voting begins. We still consider it the property of the author because obviously they wrote it and everything. It's their idea, it's their issue that they're trying to address. But once voting begins, it becomes the sponsors. There we go. So some more sponsorship rules. Minutes. Resolution submissions will only be accepted with the minutes from the regular meeting or special meeting in which the resolution sponsorship was approved. This is the SSCCC's way of verifying that this specific body did indeed sponsor your resolution. If you don't have them, we can't accept your resolution because we can't verify if it was specified or if it was sponsored by this body. We need that in order just for legitimacy and other transparency issues. But acceptable minutes. So you can't just put forward any minutes. Acceptable minutes are defined as the following: draft minutes to be approved by the body or official minutes as approved by the body. So you can either have them approved or not approved yet, since certain SBAs do meet at periodic times, like I know sometimes SBAs don't meet super frequently, so sometimes that can like hinder with the submission deadline. So if you just get the draft minutes, that's good, but official minutes are even better. Necessary information on those minutes: the time and date meeting was called to order, so we know like it happened on a specific day. Just helps transparency and legitimize your sponsorship and resolution as a whole. An official roll call of all the body's voting members, the maker of the motion to sponsor the resolution/amendment, and the vote count and result of the motion. So all this information is crucial to include on the minutes because, again, like I've been emphasizing, it helps us verify that you did indeed have sponsors, your resolution sponsored, and you didn't just forge it, which never happens. And I'm not going to try and intimate that it does a lot, but this is just how the SSCCC verifies it. It's super important. And also, this all applies for amendments. So like we've talked about in previous webinars, resolutions can be amended after they are disseminated through our first original submission packet. And if authors see certain things that they want to fix or other resolves that they want to add on to the resolution, they thought they didn't ask enough, so they want to put one more thing they want to ask of the SSCCC on there, you have to go back to your original body that got that sponsored your resolution and have them sponsor the amendment too, or else we can't accept your amended resolution. It applies for all sponsoring bodies, not just SBAs or caucuses, all 4 SBAs, caucuses, regions, and the board of directors. They need to sponsor your amendments too, or else we will not accept them once GA comes around, and they won't be heard at GA. And like I said previously, while it does not happen often, sometimes sponsorships do get revoked. Very rare, very rare. But nonetheless, it's still important to go over the information. So sponsoring bodies may revoke sponsorship of a resolution and or amendment as long as it meets the following criteria. So timeline: they must revoke sponsorship of a resolution at least 3 days prior to the dissemination of the original resolution packet. If it's 2 days or 1 day, we won't accept it, and your body will just be attached to that resolution. It will be sponsored to it. You won't be able to revoke your sponsorship. And bodies, it's the same thing for amendments in the amendment resolution packet dissemination. So they must revoke sponsorship of amended resolutions 3 days prior to the dissemination of the amended resolution packet. And going back to the minutes, either draft or final minutes are provided at least 3 days in advance of the packet dissemination, showing that a body has voted by a simple majority to rescind sponsorship. So like we discussed before, bodies need a simple majority to sponsor a certain resolution, not like a 2/3 supermajority, just a simple majority. It's the same thing for revoking simple sponsorships, just a simple majority. And the same applies for amendments. So you're going to need minutes showing that you rescinded sponsorship for the amended resolution, and it has to be in before 3 days of the packet. But let's move on. So at General Assembly, it is the responsibility of the sponsor to appoint a designated speaker in the absence of the author to introduce the resolution, speak in favor, and clarify its intent. While generally we recognize that the author would speak on this resolution, sometimes contingencies come up, they aren't able to make it. Since the body approved to be a sponsor, there are responsibilities that come along with sponsoring resolutions. For instance, if the author isn't able to make it to GA, they have to speak for this resolution at GA, speak for it, and clarify its intent if there are any questions posed to it. So, crucial thing to remember, doesn't get talked about a lot, but let's move on. So there isn't a lot of information to regard and just certain statutory things to follow with sponsorship. It's all pretty cut and dry, but in order for you to really get the sense of what sponsorships looks like and what the sponsorship process looks like, we're going to go into breakouts. So you are all about to hear a sponsorship request as a member of an official sponsoring body. The presenters in these breakouts are going to indicate to you what body you are proud of, whatever, whether it's the board of directors, region, or caucus, or an SBA, since those are the 4 bodies that can sponsor resolutions. And they're going to present to you on a resolution they've written and see if you guys as a body are going to vote to approve it. So now, I just want to clarify real quick, we don't need to follow parliamentary procedure at all, since this isn't a meeting with a quorum established or an agenda. We are not under Brown Act right now, so you don't have to worry about I second, I motion, that whole jazz. You guys can just indicate by general consensus. But if you'd like to do parliamentary procedure as well, you're more than welcome to. But before we do that, let's go over some tips to help you determine if your body should sponsor the presenter's resolution. And it goes back to what we've been talking about in prior webinars. So, is the intent clear? Good resolutions make what they're talking about clear and not confusing. So if you can't understand what the resolution is asking for, you shouldn't sponsor it. Is it concise? Good resolutions are brief and to the point while still making strong arguments. Too much words are going to be distracting, and it just shows that authors aren't able to express what they're trying to address in a concise manner, in an effective manner. And also, another super crucial thing that you have to remember, is it feasible? Sometimes resolutions ask us to do things that we can't do. And we need to make sure that all resolutions we approve are feasible and don't go out of the bounds of our authority, right? So remember, SSCCC cannot declare war. I don't think you guys will encounter any resolutions tonight asking you to declare or asking you to approve or sponsor a resolution for the SSCCC to declare war. But if you ever do see one, be sure to, yeah, exactly, Karina. Yeah, remember that. Feasibility is huge. So we're going to go into breakouts, and I know some people who are helping me with tech today have already set them up. And are they ready to go right now, Angie or Jen? You can just indicate in the chat. Awesome, they are. So they're all available right now, and we are going to go into them. So
Jack,
yeah.
You're the only one who's going to have to hold on, sorry. Can you try to join group 1 if you're able to?
Yeah. Oh, did you already do them, Angie?
Yes, I did. Oh, was I not supposed to?
No, you're all good. It's all good. I'll go right now.
Yeah. Let me know if you have trouble and I can slide you into the room 1. Hi, Erin. We're currently in breakout sessions for this workshop. We're on, oh my God, on resolution sponsorship. So I don't know if you want me to assign you to a work breakout room right now.
All right, everyone. We're just going to wait for everybody else to get back in here. I hope you had fun in your breakout groups, and I definitely got a lot of good information in mind. So I'm excited to hear what everybody has to say. But yeah, we'll just wait for everybody else to get back in here. Cool. All right. So we have everybody. Cool. So I hope you all enjoyed your breakout rooms because I have something to tell all of you. We all designed the resolutions that each of us presented to be either bad, and we wanted to make sure people like noticed that they were bad and grilled them. So I heard there was some good criticism in one of the breakout groups. And I'm happy to hear that because that means you guys are picking up what we were laying down. And we also designed some of them to be good, but awesome. Yeah, I'm just so I hope you guys noticed that. And I want you guys to know we aren't just terrible or amazing resolutions writers. But yeah, super happy that you guys got that experience. So I personally am going to start off with my group, and I wanted to hear what they had to say and just share it to the general group. So Jadalyn, Sam, Karina, VPLA, if you guys want to give your comments now, now's the time.
What did we talk about exactly? I'm just messing. The resolution that you got us was good, but brief, very, very brief. And the response, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but the response that we gave was that it had some room for improvement, but it was the good resolution, as you said, Jack. And it was primarily that we were taking a stance about oil changes being good, a good idea, essentially, versus rather implementing any given policy.
Exactly. Yeah, that was it, Sam. And yeah, I did intend mine to be the good one, but obviously I don't think I hit that. Thank you. Yeah. But
Perhaps
is anybody, go ahead, Sam.
I might have been a little too honest there, but
No. That's what this space is for. Be brutally honest, because that helps us improve. So no, I appreciate you doing that. But yeah, does anybody else from my group want to say anything during the share out?
Yeah, so it was just a little difficult at first just to connect it to like how or to see how it connects with like community college students or just like the SSCCC and it's like justifiable and or just like what Sam said, it's about uh just like supporting oil changes, like making a resolution about it, not necessarily like saying like we're going to pay, like schools are going to pay for it and stuff like that. It's just like an introduction to maybe something to help students out in the future. So I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Karina. All right, cool. And one thing I do want to emphasize too, these resolutions that we all presented were intended to be like simple and not necessarily relate to the things as the SSCCC does, just so we could try and get as much engagement as possible. We sometimes we feel like if we focus too much on just like particular issues, sometimes people won't get as engaged. So we wanted to make them simple, easy to comprehend, like, oh, you can tell easily like that's bad and this one's good, right? So if your guys' presenters resolution didn't connect to the SSCCC thing or to what the SSCCC does or what we can do not worry. It was purposely done that way, just for ease of simplicity and comprehension. But I just want to emphasize that. But cool. If there's nobody else from my group who wanted to speak, Paul, I'd love to hear what your guys' group talked about.
I like to hear what my group talked about in particular. So my resolution, in case you haven't really cut along, it wasn't the best resolution in the world. We had a lot of great feedback actually from the members in my group. Trajan, Lisa, Jen, Terrence, anything you have to say? Lisa?
I came in late,
Okay.
but from what I noticed off top is that it was kind of long and there was a lot of whereases.
Yeah.
And I remember from the last meeting that we had that we should try to consolidate those into like a paragraph form. So that's something that I noticed off the top. And then I didn't even realize it was a mock until after you told me. So that was funny, but yeah.
So in the 50 seconds we had left, we did a quick call, and we also asked the author to, if we were to adopt it, would they be amendable to the amendments we were presenting? And there were a lot. I say that with nothing but the utmost respect for my colleague here. But we as a whole said, as a board, respectfully, we cannot support this resolution.
No, absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Paul. My bad.
Sorry, Tree John, you're smiling. Anything you got to say?
Yeah, we respectfully couldn't support it, and I wanted to mute myself in a second. And because we were just going into it really, and sort of like the advice, the tips that you provided us, the three, something about it being clear, feasible, and one more. You know, some of the whereases just from the beginning began to, contradict each other. And so they didn't make sense, nor were they feasible. And there's certain stuff, about like eliminating tests, but then also expecting students to be up to standard of certain stuff, just didn't make sense. And I'm glad we were able to, offer some information to you and propose some amendments, and then eventually respectfully decline.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, if nobody else from Paul's group wants to speak on anything, and tell me if I'm, oh, yeah. Thanks, Farina. So, Paul, do you think you could give a brief overview of what your resolution was about?
To radically overhaul the California community college system, to eliminate to be holistic, eliminate all examinations and homework, to shift over and become a community college system with only asynchronous online classes, to require entrance exams, and just overall, be meant to prepare students to transfer.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm happy you guys recognize that it was radical and had all the attributes of a bad resolution. But cool. Awesome. Aaron, would you like to give a brief overview of what your group was talking about?
Okay, so what I hit on is hydration, right? We all need to be hydrated. So my resolution, or my mock resolution, was kind of based on, how it decreased weight and stuff of that sort, health benefits and everything. And then I talked about how people should have free water bottles. So I don't know if people noticed or whatever that it was definitely a good presentation. I think I had a lot of sponsorships go. I did have some criticism though, so they can decide. I know if Gerardo wants to kind of speak, he was in there. I know there was Heart Song and Aaron, also fellow Aaron. If you guys want to give some, of your input or anything, share out, feel free to.
I came in a little bit late, so based off of what what was being presented, like I know that kind of tweaked a couple things to make it, work. But yeah, I mean, that's something I would support overall.
Yeah. I think with Gerardo's tweaking or whatever, it could use some help to him. But yeah.
Yeah, I did criticize it just a little bit, shocking, I know. My main question was like, who are you gonna work with? Because working with the California community colleges is very vague. We have 116, that's 116 vice presidents of business services that you have to work with. And, that's a dead end. So, my suggestion was like, work with the chancellor's office, work with the chief student services officers. At least that gives the organization at least a map on where to go to. And then I also suggested adding a budget request to gain funding, since it is going to be free reusable water bottles. And I know that's money, it's a hot topic. So that was just my suggestion.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you giving your input. So now the grand reveal: who was assigned bad resolutions to write and who was assigned good ones. So I'm happy to hear that you guys both had criticism for Paul's and Aaron's, because they were assigned to write bad resolutions. So give yourselves a pat on the back. You were able to identify the bad ones. And I am kind of disappointed in myself because I got fair criticism, and I'm happy I got criticism because my resolution was kind of also brief, but it was also confusing on how it applied to the SSCCC and our advocacy. So I'm happy that they did recognize some good parts of the resolution that I tried, but definitely going to take home some constructive criticism tonight and help me write resolutions in the future. But cool, awesome. So I really appreciate you guys all engaging in those breakout rooms. Those are really ways that we are just trying to use to help identify the process of the sponsorship aspect of resolutions writing, seeing that it is so crucial. So I really appreciate you guys interacting and getting engaged. But let's wrap up this webinar. Pretty short, but still good stuff going on. But let's move on. So you guys have probably seen this a lot, but this is the resolutions timeline for this year. And these are all the submission dates for the process this year. So the original resolution submission deadline is going to be 55 days prior to GA. That's going to be February 4th, 2022. And obviously, because the years change on January 1st. And then once we get all those resolutions that are submitted, and remember, those are all resolutions, got to be submitted by that February 4th. We'll get all those resolutions, make a packet of them for people to review, and we'll disseminate that 50 days prior to GA, and that'll be February 9th. And then amendments to resolutions, that'll be 35 days prior to GA is when you got to have those in, which will be February 24th, 22. And then once we get all those, we'll submit them or compile them into another packet and disseminate them 30 days prior to GA on March 2nd. And if you have any questions, never mind, we have questions at the end. I always ask if there are questions, but we'll hold off till the end. Let's move on. So future webinars, we only got 2 left in this year's process, but if you guys have any ideas for more, feel free to contact me. We'll all put our emails in the chat. If you want to see a different webinar, be free to do another one, or we'll be happy to do another one. But here are our next webinars coming up. So we're going to take a little break over winter break so everybody can just recoup. But then on January 20th, we're going to come back in full force and go over resolution review. So hopefully you've been writing resolutions, and this webinar is going to be geared toward, all right, what should you be looking at when at your resolution right now so you can have the best resolution to present at GA. Is it everything concise? Is it clear? Is it feasible? All the things we talk about. Are they in your resolution? We'll be looking at that on January 20th. We'll have another activity planned. And then this applies to all delegates. So there will be a mandatory delegate debate / Parley Pro training on March 26, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. All of the webinars at 4:30 p.m. And this will just be going over parliamentary procedure and debate procedure for resolutions before GA. This is actually the Monday before GA starts. And we want to just emphasize this because debating resolutions on the floor, if you're not knowledgeable of it, can get super hectic and it just gets crazy real quick. So when delegates are trained on how to debate, it makes things super easier. So we're going to hold a mandatory debate for that. And then you'll have another one to attend during GA, which just shows how serious we take it. But yeah, with that, we'll move on. And now this is time for questions. So I know that was kind of a long or kind of brief webinar. We went over some information kind of quickly. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to go back to certain slides, answer them. This is your time to ask questions. You can also put them in the chat if you'd like. No questions? Alrighty, well, I guess there are no questions. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We only have one more slide, but I will go to that now. And that is connect with us on social media. So here is our Instagram at @SSCCC_official, our Twitter at @SSCCC_official, and our Facebook, coincidentally, at @SSCCC_official, and our website, www.ssccc.org. You will see information regarding resolutions on all these different platforms, different notices, submission notices, submission deadlines, new webinars, deadline, or just notices as well. These will all be transmitted through these platforms. So be on the lookout, follow us, take a picture of it if you'd like. But yeah, that also concludes our webinar. I'm really happy you all attended. And again, I will put my email in the chat. So if you guys have any suggestions, and Paul, if you could put your email in the chat too, just so they could have your contact info as well. Feel free to contact me or Paul if you have any suggestions on how we should be doing future webinars, just other things that you have questions about, we'd be happy to help out. Or if you just have any other thing you want to say to us, feel free to contact me. Be more than happy to get back to you. But yeah. And there we go. Cool. Alrighty. But with that, that is the conclusion of our webinar. I appreciate you all coming out, and I hope you all have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.